Big difference in the thinking structure to be able to say, I'm not supporting guns or alcohol or smoking, inner work, outer work, your relationships, all of that will decide whether you eventually have access to that neurology. Think of the neurology that's available. He said, I intentionally surrounded myself all the time. All right, team. So fabulous job yesterday. And I know you've done that. So we're going to go ahead and look at the assessments. I just want to say a couple more things about 7, value level 7. And one of them is, this is a very critical point about a critical point of difference between 5 and 7. A 7 will not support anything that they do not want to see expand. Let me explain that with an example. A true 5 might see an opportunity, for example, extra revenue, extra income in their business by, for example, if an opportunity comes up to sell, alcoholic drinks, right? Alcohol that looks sugary and the kids will even have it, like the teenagers would love it. The 5 will go, okay, it adds to the bottom line. There's a demand for it. And it makes a lot of sense because we're already selling, soft drinks, fizzy drinks. Let's add that alcoholic drinks to our thing. We have the distribution channel. And on my projections, it will add another 27 million to the revenue. I don't know. Just an example. 5 will say, great, we found a new market. The 7 will say, nah. If the 7 does not want to see alcohol consumption increase, 7 will say, I don't care what it adds to the bottom line. I'm not touching it. 7 will not support any. This is a very major neurological shift for a person to be able to say, this will multiply our revenue and it's an easy path, but I'm not going to do it because it expands in society what I do not want to see expand. That makes sense, Tahira? Big difference in the thinking structure to be able to say, I'm not supporting guns or alcohol or smoking or whatever else. There could be something that is not harmful, but according to that person, they do not want to see this expand in society. And that's where some of your, whether it's, I can't categorically say Musk is in that category or not, but there's a lot of people that are creating big businesses, but you'll find that they stay away from certain ideas, even though they have the 5 neurology to make anything work, by the way. They can take an idea and turn it into a business overnight.
That would be like, example, that would be Henry Ford when he was making the Model T and he found out that people were using the back seat for other activities. He made it shorter after the production in order to keep people from doing the immoral acts in his cars.
There you go. So that's because even though he could make more money by doing that, so there's a certain, and look at the results he created. So I hope that makes any question on that. This is a very big point of differentiation between 5 and 7. And you can try and consciously create that thinking, but like I said, these things are hard to create consciously. They happen over time.
Would it just be a stronger respect for their value level? Like as in
stronger desire to stay within values. Yeah. But there's all sorts of other factors. The 7 is not looking for acceptance. 7 is an integrated self. 7 does not care about what 4s think. If you are starting to care less and less as you go through these trainings of what, and I don't want to put 4s in a pigeonhole. What I'm saying is people who have high 4-level awareness thinking still, if you care less and less about what they think of you, as I did, I was pretty much in the most 4 environment you can imagine. And they're all looking at me for the last many years. I don't feel anything in my body and I don't feel any hatred towards them either. Very important point we're going to touch upon today is neutrality. How do you know you're done with a value level? That's where we're going to go. How do you know you're done? So that's a really important point about the 7, whether the 7 is sane inside of them or not. This is their thinking structure. Who am I being in relation to the highest, truest version of me? Callan, that's how I would put it. The inner talk is, who am I being in relation to the highest, truest version of me? They just operate in life like that. The other big differentiator in 5 and 7, and I must admit to that as well, 5 is still very much in comparison land. And there's nothing wrong with it, but 5, that's how 5 experiences negative emotions a lot, a true 5, due to comparing with others. 7 There is no such thing. Can you see, Callan, how just a 7 is just a refined, evolved version of 5? Some of those lower level issues have gone. And I know aspirational factor we all have, we all want to be a 7, but I think I'm just bringing to your awareness that 7, if it has to evolve inside of you, it's not guaranteed. If it does, it will. Inner work, outer work, your relationships, all of that will decide whether you eventually have access to that neurology. Because you can't say, oh, I don't want to compare anymore. I'm not going to compare anymore. But you're quietly looking at someone on social media and you're feeling that angst. Well, the neurology is not there. You're feeling it.
So do you think that a 7 would look for a mentor?
A 7 can, but typically doesn't,
Okay.
and ends up actually being quite lonely. And I'll talk about how.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a very individual lone level. Can end up collaborating to an extent, but is not actively looking for a mentor. Could do with a mentor. Very interested in the key term for 7 is functionality. Now, the difference in 6 and 7 is that 7 also cares about others' feelings a lot, just like 6. Because remember, to be in 7, you're already taking the 6 neurology with you. The difference is 7 is not just talking about it. It's producing solutions that are doing something for it. Big difference from 6. That's why they evolved from 6. 7 is barely judgmental, and even if they do pass judgment, they don't dwell on it, don't get stuck on it. It'll just come out. It's not like, oh, keep feeling it. You know, it's a very different neurology. Hedge fund man, I think ran one of the biggest hedge funds. I've actually seen him live, Bridgewater Associates, and he wrote a book called Principles as well. I think it's nearly 600 pages. I mean, literally 1/3 of the book is about meditation. How do you have a guy who's running a company with 1,200 employees and multi-billions walked out so successfully? Do you not think that there is an integrated self there? I mean, there could be a fair bit of 5, but I think there's a high 7 thinking structure available to someone like him. Still been in business. And you see the difference in business owners at that level. It's almost hard to operate with that level of thinking, with having zero concept of spirituality, zero concept of higher self, zero concept that there is separation, but there is also oneness. I personally think it's very hard to, if you're doubting all of these higher concepts.
Rich, what was his name, please?
Ray Dalio or Dalio, D-A-L-I-O. Just a regular guy. Like you, if you see his videos, it's just normal to you, but he ran one of the largest hedge funds in the world. And the way he organized his people, something to be amazing to be said on there. And I think from a level 5 neurology, my view is that you can only run a 1,200 people company to a certain extent without experiencing major drama. Dalio talks about something very interesting. Think of the neurology that's available. He said, I intentionally surrounded myself all the time with people who professionally disagree with me. So he would look for people, his closest people, who disagree with him. So something really interesting to be learned from that level of thinking, Ray Dalio. And, he's just an example. I have plenty of examples. I also feel it through my own research. This is not from the NLP board or the National Value Standards. I believe there is roughly about 100, just over 100 people, 108 people in the world who are highly level 8 awakened. There is a view from the circles that I hang out in that there is not much 8 at all. There is there, but its system is, but I believe there are specific people that are definitely, there's a guy out of India, Sadhguru, he's got 11 million volunteers. How on earth do you get 11 million people to volunteer for you? On top of that, creating a business empire, incredible business empire. And then so much wisdom, and he used to be an engineer. What happened that you're able to operate at that level of thinking? I'm not a very big fan of the word enlightened, by the way, in the enlightened being. Right? I think we're all enlightened inside in the structure of thinking that we're in. Okay, so that's a little bit about 7. Like I said, it is a quantum leap beyond 6, very high in ethics and integrity. Integrity is critical at this level of thinking. Very high efficiency and no commitment. Ouch. What does that mean? Finds it very easy to let go. If a project or a business is not working out the way he or she wants it, out, gone. Can you all see the difference in 5 and 7 now? Yeah, it's an interesting thinking structure, right? Is always able to walk away from a situation. This business is not working, that's okay, I'll build another one. I know who I am and I know what I can do. Has no compulsion, no need or compulsion to change people who don't want to change. It's all about results. And I said yesterday, has let go of competition, comparisons, does not have the need to be in charge. So if you research people and if you read certain biographies, you probably find people like that are around.